I think we should be live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Parent Involvement Committee meeting. We're so glad we have this time together and that you've all been able to join us. For those of you who are joining from the live stream who may not know me, my name is Laura Tripp. This is my third year as a PIC committee member after being members of school councils for many years, but this is our first meeting officially as co-chair. So I'm one of the new PIC co-chairs, and my co-chair Ali is on the call as well and can introduce himself in a moment. Those of you who don't know me, I'm an HDSB parent, of course, with two kiddos in the system in elementary schools in Burlington, one at Dr. Best and one in Sir Ernest Macmillan, and we're so glad to have you all here on the meeting with us tonight. So we're going to start with the land acknowledgement. Carrie, if you don't mind changing the slide. Thank you. So we begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which the HDSB is situated is on the ancestral treaty and tidal lands of the Anishinaabe Ojibwe Mississauga Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Mississauga territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties, responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. And I will not try to say it in French, and I will turn over to you, Ali, to talk about the agenda.
Great, thanks, Laura. I'll quickly introduce myself. I am also a parent of two kids, one who has gone through the Halton system and is now at a Catholic high school, unfortunately, and the other one who has many years to go, who is in senior kindergarten. So I've been with the Halton system for years, fantastic, and I've also served in various capacities as a volunteer with not only the school, but the board itself. And like Laura, I have served on the PIC committee now, I believe, for 3 years as well, and looking immensely forward to being one of your co-chairs. So tonight really is it's an introduction to what we as a PIC family would like to do going forward, and also a chance for us to provide you some key updates on things that are moving within the PIC committee and the PIC family. I'll just quickly go through the agenda. So once we accept the minutes from the last meeting, then we really get into the bulk of the meeting, where we will provide you updates, and then we will ask for an update from the superintendent, and then we will ask for an update from our new trustee. I'd like to first thank Trustee Zhang for their help in the last few years, but I'd also like to introduce and welcome Trustee Rocha to the PIC committee, the PIC family. And then we'll do some closing remarks. And near the end of the meeting, Laura and I have a bit of homework that we're going to hand out to the PIC family so that we can come prepared with information that's going to help us all in our next meeting. Thank you. Next slide, please. So with that, I'd like to ask that we have a nominator or a nomination to propose that we accept the meeting minutes from our last meeting. And with that, that would be Jennifer Sibbett. Do we have a seconder to accept those minutes? I believe Sherry White had her hand up, so we will go with Jennifer and Sherry White. Thank you. So minutes from the last meeting are accepted.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. Hello, everybody. My name is Jennifer Sibbett. I was co-chair of the PIC conference this year along with Laura Tripp. And so I'm just going to give you a little bit of a debrief over our very exciting and wonderful conference that we had back on November 15th. We had over 1,500, I wish, 500 parents / guardians that registered to attend the event. The event itself is a wonderful day of learning. It includes, we've got tons of workshops from a lot of different topics, which you'll get to. There's child minding for those who have littles that want to bring them, community tables from local nonprofits that help us reach our communities and provide services back to that community. There is, of course, a free lunch, which was delicious. And I love free food, so that worked out really well. Our keynote speaker was Pardeep Nagra this year, and he was wonderful in engaging us on diversity and engagement and how to celebrate each other. So that was really worthwhile. And then we have 3 different workshop sessions throughout the day. So we have like the main keynote in the morning, and then we have 3 separate ones in the afternoon that kind of just take on different subjects and topics depending on what you're interested in. One of the things, so we had wonderful workshops and presenters, lots of volunteers, which was just amazing. Not only volunteers helping us run the day and the committee itself, but also a lot of our presenters and workshop workers were all volunteers or staff with the board. So that was really great that they spent their Saturday to come out to help with our school community. The child minding was a great success. Some of the kids didn't want to leave, so that's always nice. One of the things we introduced this year that was new was a lunch and learn for our PIC school reps as well as the chairs. And that one was really great because we got a chance for them to be able to connect and discuss with each other certain things that are individual to a PIC rep or to a school chair. So stuff like, what can we offer with our program, or what kind of things do you offer at your school for fundraising that maybe you can share ideas that way and what we could do for each other. So that was really helpful. And one of the feedbacks we got for that was that they would like more time to connect with each other, which was really great. So we're looking at that for next year. Again, I mentioned the volunteers, just absolutely amazing. Really, really appreciate everyone who came out to help. And of course, like I said, lunch is always a wonderful thing. From our feedback, we did send out a survey. So thank you to all that spent some time to fill that out. We do obviously have ways to improve. We do need to work on the sound system in the gym. It was hard for people at the back to hear. It was kind of like staticky in some spots. So that was difficult, and that kind of takes away from our keynote speaker. We'd like to get more workshop ideas and more range of things that people want to see and experience. So we're working on that as well and taking some of that feedback to what we can offer for next year. And then of course, providing the lunch is great and it's all individual bags, but of course there's a lot of waste in that with all the individually wrapped foods. So we're looking at ways that maybe we can be a little bit more environmentally friendly when it comes to the lunch offering as well. And then just so that you guys are aware too, the lunch, any leftover things did go to the food bank. So that was also a really good way to give back to the community in that respect too. The workshops that were the most, I guess, well attended and people were really excited about were the AI in the classroom. So that's something definitely we'd be offering again, because as parents, we want to know how AI is being introduced and how our kids are going to be using it. Building strong relationships with your kids and teens, how students are actually learning math, collaborative problem solving, screenagers. We had the three different movies set up in different rooms so that people could see all 3 of those. That was really great and well attended. Navigating childhood anxiety and recognizing and supporting your child's mental health. So those are all huge topics. And again, if you have any feedback or any other suggestions, by all means, reach out to any of us or to your PIC committee representative so that they can reach out to us on things that you'd like to see for next year or any suggestions you may have. Laura, I don't know if you want to throw in anything else there or.
No, you did a great job summarizing that, Jen. Thanks.
Thank you. I've been practicing all day.
It was such a great conference, and I just hope even more people come next year because everyone always leaves, I think, having learned lots and having enjoyed the day. So thank you to everyone who did come.
So folks, we are excited to announce that we will be having another PIC conference next year in 2026, 2027. And the details that we have so far are we plan on having this conference in October, and the location will be LC McGill, located centrally in the Halton District School Board in Milton. And the items that we need your assistance with, your help with, would be, first of all, we need to form a planning committee. So the election of co-chairs, if multiple people are interested in becoming a PIC conference planning co-chair, we'll be asking for submissions soon. And then from that, the establishment of the planning committee itself and areas of responsibility within that planning committee. And I'm sure I'm going to forget one. Child minding, food, workshops, tables, volunteers. So there's plenty of work to go around for anyone who wants to join the planning committee for the PIC conference. And then secondly, it's to establish a timeline for work, so a work timeline, and also to collaborate and decide who the keynote speaker would be so that we can plan and we can reserve that keynote speaker in advance. So if you're interested in being part of the PIC planning committee for the PIC conference, then please reach out. And I will tell you from my own personal experience, I have had the fortunate opportunity to be part of the planning committee for a few years in various capacities. It's a phenomenal group of like-minded parents and guardians who mobilize, come together, not only plan the conference, but then also attend the conference as well. So it's an amazing experience and it's truly changed me. So please, if you're interested, volunteer. Next slide, please. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Jen and Ali. We're going to start with something that I think at first glance doesn't seem super exciting to talk about in a meeting, but I think is really important and is a good place for us to maybe start this next. And we're already in February, so it sounds funny to say new year, but maybe next set of meetings. So our terms of reference. Our terms of reference really is the document that outlines who we are as a committee, what our purpose is, what we're doing, how we work together, what our goals are. So on the slide before, there was the link to the terms of reference. Sorry, thanks, Gary. It's if you go onto our PIC committee page on the HDSB website, it's at the very bottom, or if you click that QR code, should work. It worked for me when I tested it earlier. That'll take you right to the document. We can also send it to you if you can't find it. Okay, thanks. I can go to the next slide. But really, we think it hasn't been reviewed in quite some time. So it's probably just time for a review to think through some of the parts that are in it. Are they still accurate? Is it still meeting our needs? Is there anything unclear that should be clarified or anything that's just not relevant anymore? So I think the important thing to remember is we aren't the only board with a parent involvement committee, right? This is something that the ministry says every board has to have. You can go on to different boards' websites and see that all the different boards have their PIC committee. And of course, there's going to be some similarities in how they run, right? Like everyone has the same sort of mandate and goals and approaches, but the way that people do it and the way they do the work and the way they approach the work is different. So this is somewhere where we can start to outline what we want in terms of policies and procedures. And then Ali's going to jump in after this conversation so we can talk more about what does that mean for us as a PIC committee and how we can support the schools and the parents in the board. So that's where this is starting from. So what I've done and Ali has done, and we've had conversations with Tara as well, is gone through the terms of reference and picked out some areas that we think maybe are up for discussion. That's not to say other areas are not. These are just, I didn't think you'd want to go through it line by line on the call. So these are the areas we thought we could start with. So if you don't mind going to the next slide, Carrie. So the first area that I just want to draw your attention to is our PIC composition. So that's who is on the committee. And I think it's really important to remember when we're talking here, it gets confusing because we all are called PIC reps or PIC members, but they can mean different things. So when I'm talking about the terms of reference, this is the terms of reference for the committee that's meeting tonight. We have the representatives of 3 individuals per the different regions in our board. And then, of course, there's also the very important role of the PIC rep at the school board level. So I've been trying to call them sort of the PIC school council rep and the PIC school board rep, but if it's confusing, apologize and feel free to stop me. So in the terms of reference, we outline who should be on this board level PIC committee. So it outlines the number of individuals per region and city. It does not currently explicitly indicate which grade levels they should represent. So I know that we do have a mix of people representing. For example, I represent Burlington Elementary. Someone else represents Burlington Secondary. There's a second person representing Burlington Elementary as well. That's something we could consider if we wanted to formalize that in our terms of reference. The other thing when it comes to composition, it talks about the appointment of parent and community members. So we have a process that we undertake anytime there's an opening on the committee. But then we also think about the criteria of who we're selecting to be on the committee. This may be something when you read this that sounds great and we're good, or it may be something that you guys may want to adapt or that we could change slightly. So right now, the criteria that are outlined are interest in working with parents and staff to support school councils and parent engagement, a student's first attitude and support for public education, and other volunteer experience. So having sat on that selection committee before, I know these are the 3 things that we're always keeping in our mind when we're reviewing applications, but this is also what we're sharing out with folks when we're asking them to apply. So if we think there's anything that needs to be changed or adapted there, that's something we could think about. If we go to the next slide. So the other thing that's on there is terms. So currently right now, the terms of reference says that we will have some parent and community members will be appointed either for a 1-year term or a 2-year term. And that'll be determined at the beginning of the term. So really the length of time you're going to be on the committee. So we are all appointed to a 1-year term, except co-chairs are appointed for 2 years at a time. But there's no maximum right now to the number of terms we can hold. So as much as it says we have a 1-year term, at the beginning of every school year, we get an email asking, are you still interested in staying on the committee? Are you still eligible to sit on the committee? If all my kiddos have graduated from the HDSB, I wouldn't be eligible anymore regardless, but that goes out. So that's how the terms are set up right now. 1 year, and you just kind of decide at the beginning of every year if you're staying on. The one thing that it doesn't state at all in terms of reference right now, and if you go on to the next slide, Carrie, please, is limitations on the number of terms you can have. So there's no limit right now on how long we can stay at this committee. If we join when our kiddo is in grade 9, we can stay till they graduate in grade 12. If we join when they're in grade 1, we can stay till they graduate in grade 12. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something that's worth considering and deciding if we want to keep it that way or if that's something we want to adapt. I do a lot of work with committees and engagement committees in my day job, and I know that's something that is discussed often in those committees as well. And there's no sort of hard and fast rule about which is the right way to do this and which is the wrong way to do this. The reason that we do think it's worth considering and just having a bit of discussion about is we have such high level of interest every year when we put out, Carrie or Tara will put out the email saying, these individuals, 3 individuals have stepped down for the committee. We have 3 openings. And if I'm correct, I think we usually get hundreds of applications for those spots. And having gone through those applications, each one of those parents would be fabulous on this committee. That being said, we also know that there's amazing knowledge on this committee as well. And so we wouldn't want to lose that either. So I think it's just having a bit of a discussion about what makes the most sense here. Is there value to consider adding term limits to our terms of reference? If we want to go that way, what is a reasonable number of terms you could serve? Is it 2? Is it 5? Is it more or less? And then, of course, we would have to figure out the logistics of that because we wouldn't want to put in term limits of something that meant that we would have a brand new committee next year, right? So we're not saying that this is something we would put in now and say everyone can only stay for 1 year and we're all having to change at the end of the year, because I think that also wouldn't make sense. But just something to have a discussion about. Yeah. I'll pass it to Ali to do the next few.
Thanks, Laura. So based on the ministry and the HDSB terms of reference, we are mandated to have 4 meetings a year. So this would qualify as our 2nd meeting for this year, with 2 more programmed for the remaining year. And so the question we had is, as we've transitioned post-pandemic and we're slowly creeping back into in-person meetings, Laura and I were pondering, and we'd love your input, about the option of hybrid meetings, meaning in-person and virtual happening at the same time. If that's an option that you would consider or you would want, then we would have to, on the logistics side, make sure the school board can support us in the locations which have those blended environments. And we most likely would start with 1 meeting to see how it goes, and then from there potentially do more or do less, again depending on how that meeting goes. And so we'd love your input on the idea of having a blended or hybrid meeting where some of us are in person and the others are joining us virtually. And so again, we'd love to get your input via email. So when Laura and I were discussing the terms of reference, asking for feedback, how do we empower our PIC family? One of the things, I'll give credit to Laura for this. One of the things that she thought of is it's easier if we have a smaller group to work on terms of reference, especially if it's a focus group on just the terms of reference. If there's interest, Laura and I could coordinate the date, the time, the location to have a working group whose sole focus for that entire time that we're together is to work on suggestions and revisions for the terms of reference. And so if you're interested in the working group, or if you think it's a good idea, please let us know. And in particular, if you're interested in joining that working group, please let us know, because we'd love to have your input and your feedback as to how the terms of reference can better serve the PIC family. I think we had a question. Oh, Tara.
Thanks, Sally. Yeah, and just a reference point for that, as the subcommittee engages in the work, part of the terms of reference also share that when we're moving forward the work of the committee in some type of a subcommittee, that meeting also will be open to the public. So we'll ensure that there is a link and a facility so that any of our PIC reps or anyone that would like to be just part in listening to some of the discussions that are unfolding in the review of the terms of reference, that will make sure that that's accessible and available to folks as well. So just to put that on everybody's radar, although it will be, I know, brought back to the collective in terms of those conversations and the thoughtfulness and care that unfolds within that subcommittee, that will be open to the public to be able to be aware of and knowledgeable around.
Thanks, Tara. I think I would also welcome, I mean, sometimes you can go line by line on those terms of reference. And I know we've done this in our parent councils at our schools, and it can get messy. So if you're the type of person who feels better just kind of working through a document and providing comments that way, that is also more than welcome. I know sometimes I like to just, get out my digital highlighter and edit up a document. So if that's how you work too, feel free. And Allie, I don't know if anyone had specific comments right now that they wanted to add, or if you just wanted to wait for the committee.
Sure, I'm just going to add one quick thing, and then we'll open it up. And I think we have a discussion point coming up in our next slide as well. So the one thing we'd like to pass on to everyone is that Laura and I and the rest of the team, we understand that revisions, looking at the terms of reference, it's not a singular process in the sense of it's going to take one workshop, we figure everything out. It may be a few different processes. So emails, input, one-on-one discussions. So what Laura and I would like to offer the group is that we'll collate the information, and then at the working group, maybe at that point, we can actually look at all the different inputs that we've received and look at it with the people at the working group itself. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you can't make it to the working group, that's completely fine. There's many ways you can contribute to revising the terms of reference, because your input is very important to us. Should we open it up for discussion now, Laura, or do you want to wait for the next slide where?
I guess we could just say if there's any initial thoughts or comments, but I don't think we have to have big debates about it right now. But if anyone had initial comments or thoughts, happy to hear them. Again, I know it's not always the most exciting topic, but I think it's an important one. Sherry, go ahead.
I really hope my mic's working. Oh, thank goodness. I hate when I don't get a chance to test it first. As much as, we were I was around when these terms were written and adopted originally. And the changes did have to come in because we didn't sort of have a PIC constitution at the time, but it was mandated. But previous to that, I think, as much as when it comes to just things like around the terms or even around the locations, it's one of those things we have to watch the wording to be like vague yet concise, if that makes any sense, just because I do represent Halton Hills, and it is one of those things that sometimes we might get a lot of interest from people that are further south and not in the north. So it's making sure that we still have that balance. It's because unfortunately it is the kind of thing where you can't say like majority rules. So, you know, it's maintaining that balance. So yeah, you might have somebody like me who's been around this as long as, well, gee, I chaired my first parent council when my son was in kindergarten, and he graduated last year. So, and as much as we say welcome to trustee Rosa, she's done this job before too, because I remember that. And so it is one of those things that you know, I recognize, even for myself, this is probably, you know, I mean, well, my daughter's in grade 10, so I'm going to naturally evolve, but at the same time, yeah, I've always said if there was somebody, you know, in the north who wanted my spot, I'd hand it over, but there hasn't always been. So we just want to make sure that the representation is there. One thing that it was suggested, even when we adopted this, with the co-chairs having the 2-year term, is perhaps putting a provision in there for when if they're starting at the same time, that one of them only do a 1 or one do a 3-year, just so there is that overlap, in case there is, you know, a new superintendent at the board, or, you know, when new trustees, it's an election year, it's that kind of thing. So we would have that continuity, so nobody is left kind of, you know, out. You know, so those are some of my initial thoughts, just for some clarity around that. And I know, I think even the original, it's the same legislation language, that it's a minimum of 4 meetings per year. And so, I mean, I do remember a time when it was like monthly. You know, we would meet down at the board office on a monthly basis. And also there were times as well that we would rotate some of the meetings within the 4 areas. So, and now that we have the capability of doing a lot more of hybrid meetings, you know, to be able to say, okay, you know, we'll do a meeting in Oakville, a meeting up in Halton Hills. And then for those that can't attend, you know, to be able to live stream it. So those are just some of the thoughts, you know, that I would sort of want to consider in that, if we're changing those kinds of things.
Thanks, Sherry. I do have a question for you. And I think for us, it's a very important question to not only ask, but try to understand what the answer would be. And that is, as we ask for input on various things, you know, right now we're asking for input on the terms of reference. You said yourself that there seems to be greater interest to the south and less interest to the north. And you would, I think we're all in agreement that, you know, the changes would be general in the sense, and all encompassing, you know, inclusive. So the question I have is, why is there less interest? And I don't want to make the assumption, but less interest then leads to less participation, I guess, from the north. Is there something that we can do to get more interest from the north to participate? And is there something that we can help you do to get that interest as well? So question back to you.
Actually, to be honest, there's a lot of participation in the north, and I want to say that our trustee, you know, Jean Gray, you know, from the time that she had been elected, even originally, you know, when the idea had come up about sort of doing like super council meetings and things like that, you know, she's always embraced it. But the biggest difficulty for a lot of our parents, though, and when we talk, like, you know, it's almost, I want to say it's like the AD and the BC kind of thing, because there's, you know, there was before COVID, and then of course after COVID, and being the fact that, you know, after COVID we do have a lot of more, you know, technology being used, whereas, you know, previous to that everything was sort of in person, and unless you know, a sort of central location was used, like where the Welcome Center is, you know, in Milton there, everything was held, you know, meetings were held at the board office. transportation is a huge issue for a lot of our families in the north. Even going from one side of Halton Hills to the other, because, you know, people, especially in the south, think that Acton and Georgetown are kind of close to each other, and they're not. And there isn't, we don't have any sort of, you know, real public transportation. I mean, there's like a regional go bus, but that's it. So especially for some of those families that don't drive, you know, trying to say, you know, can you be, you know, down in Burlington, you know, at you know, at the board office for a 7 o'clock meeting on a Thursday night? No, you know, it's not. So that, you know, was a big hurdle for a lot of families. Like I said, it's hopefully not as much now because we have the technology to support it. And at the same time, you know, our schools are really well connected because Jean does such a great job. And well, Tara, we had that meeting last week, so she knows that as well. So it's just, I guess, still, you know, making sure that, and the difficult thing too is when all the meetings do line up, because you do have a lot of the schools that if they're just doing their minimum of 4 meetings a year, sometimes by the time a parent council meets, has a new, you know, their own, you know, council set up in, let's say, October, they might miss a first or second meeting of this committee. So it's just, I think, you know, when we do take a look at that, or we're getting information back from the schools as to who their pick reps are and that kind of thing, that we sort of, you know, take a look at where everybody's schedules fall, so we're not sort of, you know, missing somebody, you know, in between. Because I often had that as well. Like it was the like I said, our super council meeting last Thursday. This meeting is this Thursday, and I'm like, they're like, do you have a report to give? And I was like, not really, because I would have said it last time. So, you know, it's just sort of making sure that, you know, everything lines up, which sometimes is easier said than done. But
I was just going to say, I think, you know, I mean, we can certainly look at schedules and see where we can find opportunities for our meetings. At the same time, we advertise and publicize our meeting dates in advance with the hopes that, you know, groups, very important groups, schedule around those, but we can certainly work with that. And so I guess the follow-on question I have quickly, Sherry, is that I initially thought the issue was technology. And so we could certainly, you know, Laura, myself, you know, Tara, the group, we can discuss satellite offices. So maybe a school in the north is where everyone huddles from the north, and then they can join us virtually from there. So they're technically in person and still joining us virtually. But if you're saying that that's not an issue, you know, then we can look at different options. But we, you know, of course, we want everyone's input, no matter where you live, north, south, east, west. You know, everyone's input is important. So thank you for that. I think Jennifer has a point.
Just to echo that about technology and just internet access in general. So I live in rural Milton, and there are kiddos at our rural school that do not have internet access at home. And so I think that if we want to engage those families, then I think the idea of a satellite at the school would be fantastic, because that's just reaching out to more people that wouldn't ordinarily be part of it. So I just wanted to echo, that's a great idea.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Shari. Excuse me. If we can go to the next slide, please. So interestingly enough, our next slide was going to be a discussion, and still is a discussion, about how we can better support our PIC school family and school reps. And so we'd like to open that up for discussion. And then we have a little bit of homework where we're going to ask our regional reps to go back and speak to their PIC school reps to gather information, to engage with them, and just start that dialogue and that teamwork. Because I think, you know, regardless of which level of PIC you're at, all of our roles and all of our input is very important to the entire PIC family. And so our goal, Laura and I have discussed this, we actually started discussing this last year, excuse me, and that is to empower the entire PIC community. And one way to do that is ensure that we're all somehow connected and that information flows up, down, sideways, all throughout the PIC community. And the last thing is to provide consistent statements, consistent information about events, about terms of reference, about things that are happening. And so that's our goal this year. And so our goal is important, not only for us, but I think it's important for all of us, but it's important only if we can get input from you. So the question we have for discussion is, what can we do to support our PIC school reps? I'm wondering if we had any initial comments. This will also be part of your homework that you're going to take away to discuss with your specific, PIC areas as well. So do we have any comments from the group right now on what we can do to support the PIC family? Jennifer, go for it.
So as a regional rep for Milton Elementary, I don't have direct access to any of those, like I don't have emails or anything to reach out to anybody directly. I only really have access to my own school. So I think that something that might be helpful is to either through Carrie or whatever, just have some sort of open dialogue so that I can, or that the Milton Elementary School group can reach out to each other and share those ideas. Right now we do have that big email system that gets like a lot of emails. So something more focused to my particular group. And then I think that would help us brainstorm with each other and then be able to bring that information to the larger group.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Please go ahead, Trustee Rocha.
Thank you, Ali. So one of the things I've heard from parents who are PIC school reps, they don't fully understand what their role is. So, come September, it's the start of a new school year. The principal says, who wants to be council chair? Who wants to be the PIC rep? Who wants to be a treasurer? People put up their hand for PIC rep, but they really don't understand what their role is. So I don't know what work has been done since the PIC conference when you did have that lunch and learn meeting with PIC reps, but perhaps develop some sort of like a one-pager. Hey, congratulations, you're a PIC rep. Here's what's expected of you, and here are your resources. So something to that effect. That would be helpful.
Great, thank you for that. Laura.
Just wanted to, I think that's a great idea, Trustee Rocha. And I think that's something we had also talked about, is having more sort of consistent conversations and communications with our PIC reps at the school board, at the school committee level, even things about what's going on at the board of trustees that they may want to bring back to their school councils, right? Sometimes I watch board committees because I'm a policy nerd, but I don't think everyone does that. So, knowing that the budget's really important right now, what are the key messages you could bring back to your school council for discussion? And then just, Jen, to go back to your comment, Carrie has offered in previous conversations that she could send out emails on our behalf. So I'm Burlington Elementary. So to the Burlington Elementary group for us, because we don't have access to those school council PIC reps emails addresses for privacy reasons. So maybe that can help us to get those conversations started, because I agree that's a challenge. Go ahead, Tara.
Superintendent Connor, please.
Yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, just another point of reference as well on the board website, under the school council page, it also has a school council handbook that does articulate all of the roles of the executive, including our PIC representatives, in terms of what their roles and responsibilities are. And again, not that that's finite. People may not know it's there, or know as they're deciding if they're going to be part of an executive or what their specific roles are as they're committing to some of those pieces. And I think that probably is true for even beyond the PIC rep, some of the other executive positions that may exist on school councils. that there is a really good reference point for folks. Again, that's not to suggest it's fine out, but just that is a place that we very purposely made sure that we crafted a very fulsome overview so that everybody would know what their roles and responsibilities would be. And then it's always, again, figuring out ways to make that, communicated well in a timely way, in a way that makes sense for folks as well.
Great, thank you for that. And that's going to lead into the last point in the slide. I'll just quickly mention it because I think there's a great segue here, and that is on 10 March, we are holding a PIC orientation, which will invite the committee and school reps, and we can also take that as an opportunity to describe the different roles and the different relationships between those roles. So thank you for that. Is there any other discussion? I know that the chat was going. Anything in the chat?
Sherry was just mentioning going back into the Google Drive to find the things about the PIC-mobile. So I think maybe we need to connect with Sherry to learn more about what that was. I think that was before my time.
I did locate some of those files, so I will make sure that the sharing settings allow people to look at those resources from the past. So they are there. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm sure they are. I just haven't dug through all the files.
Before we move over to Trustee Rocha, so sorry, is the PIC-mobile a vehicle for PIC members? No, I'm actually generally asking, what is the PIC-mobile?
I don't know. Sherry
Okay.
might know.
I guess once we discover what it is.
We had sort of at the time decided that, as the PIC committee, and we had our family of schools, that as needed or if necessary, we would go to different school council meetings, be able to, sort of be there live to give, messages from the board or messages from PIC, do any type of, presentations, like if, let's say, anybody from their council wasn't able to do be it like the financial planning when they first had started those, or if they needed, even ideas for, pro grant and how to do the pro grant applications, because again, it used to be, the PIC reps had to sort of, we were applying for our own grants directly to the ministry before the ministry sort of, made the boards all do it themselves. So it was very different, but there's a lot of documentation still there about, what is PIC, how are we involved, all of that kind of thing. So a lot of that groundwork had been done previously. And I know Dina had put a message in saying that she had to step out. I don't know if she's back, but she was quite instrumental with writing a lot of those files and things back, at the beginning when we were sort of, trying to lay the groundwork for, what is PIC and what the terms of reference would be, and sort of that constitution for us as well. So I just know that drive probably still has some of the all that printed information that we had.
Great, thanks, Sherry. Trustee Rocha, please.
Yeah, so question of clarification, the 10 March meeting, why is it so late in the year? Like, why wouldn't it have been sooner?
I'm going to attempt to respond, and Laura, please jump in to save me if you'd like. Trustee Rocha, I think it just came down to simple scheduling. So we were elected in November. Then December, we considered December, but that became very busy with school concerts, school functions, Christmas and the holiday season. Then we came back in January and we started actually doing a bit of a handover, learning, coordinating what we were going to do. And that fell into February, which is this meeting. And then at that point, we decided that we'd like to do a meeting in March. But we agree with you that an orientation should be done as soon as possible. The one complication, and this happens with school councils as well, is because of the late elections or late appointments. Next year, this shouldn't be happening because Laura and I, if all goes well, should still be in place and we can do an orientation earlier. It's just simply because we came in November, I think November 2nd-ish or so, just before the actual PIC conference, a week before, I believe. So that's what, I don't know if you want to add something to that, Laura, but I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, I think that's really accurate. I think it was just a timing thing this time. And maybe we don't call it a PIC orientation as much as a PIC community building, right? Like it's just trying to bring everyone together. We did do a bit of a PIC orientation already at the conference. So we added in that lunch and learn at the conference. It wasn't perfect by any means, and it was quick. And I know maybe too quick for what people wanted, but it was a start. So yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, but I agree. It does feel late for an orientation, and it's probably more PIC community building. Maybe we call it that. Go ahead, Tara.
Yeah, so two quick things. I think you explained it really, really well. And this is, what we're hearing, I think, throughout this meeting is that time to continue to reflect, review, and kind of and innovate around what we would like in terms of our move forward plan as a group, and being thoughtful around the timeliness of how we share communication, how we engage our PIC reps at schools, how we build community and support. Having clarity of our mandate, having great structures that can support that, I think is really timely and really gives us this wonderful opportunity. The other piece I would say is there's also kind of a logistical side here as well. And I would say March is late for sure, although we did have the conference in November, as you mentioned, in which we did pull our PIC reps together. Is that essentially, at the school level, the school councils really become orientated in about beginning of October-ish. And within a couple of weeks from there, we're able to solicit from all of our schools, and Carrie would know better than anyone. It sometimes it's a little longer than in other schools to be able to get who all the key chairs are. We very quickly ascertain who the treasurers are so that we can make sure we do financial training and create some clarity around some of that work very, very early in everybody's tenure in those roles. And then our PIC reps as well. So it takes a little bit of time to be able to pull and solicit that information from schools. And then there's also the establishment of this committee in the time frame in which we navigate vacancies, post those vacancies. There's a timeliness operational piece to that as we work through the selection process, et cetera. And so, again, I think it's really helpful as you look at your terms of reference and think about, again, how things are operationalized, how you could best build the best kind of capacity and opportunity to do that rich work of engaging and supporting and creating that community and really ongoing connection between schools and board to build out and support parent engagement in the most fulsome way possible. It's a really terrific opportunity for us to do that really thoughtfully and reflectively, I think, where we all are. I will also say last year, and it was Sherry as co-chair that was facilitating it, that was the first time, I think, since COVID, if I remember correctly, Sherry, that we pulled all of our PIC reps together at that time in person in Milton, and we had a great, great turnout. And so, again, I think it's a little bit of kind of a regroup and a move forward in terms of current state and where we go from here in terms of what the work looks like and how we can best do it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the question, Trustee Rocha. So the homework that we have for our regional reps, when I say regional reps, just to be clear, Laura and I, we debated, we chatted, we talked. What do we call our committee reps that are responsible for instance, Milton Middle Schools? And so the best term for now we came up with regional reps, right? So what we're going to ask our regional reps that form the committee is to go out and speak to your school PIC communities. So your school PIC reps. And what we'd like to get, so first of all, the idea here is to give you an opportunity to engage, introduce, build that relationship. And while you're doing that, if you can gather this information for us, that'd be fantastic. So the first piece is, please have a look at the terms of reference, and if you have any suggestions or recommendations, gather that. The second thing is, talk about the PIC conference. Please make sure your school PIC reps know what the rough idea or plan is. And again, that's next year. October, I believe, is what I said before. LC McGill. And most importantly, if anyone's interested on being part of the planning committee or co-chairing the two planning co-chair positions. because we'd like to gather that information and establish that group sooner than later, because October, based on the group that's planned for the last year or 2 years or 3 years, October is going to come very quickly. And then the third ask is, again, what sort of support can the two co-chairs, so Laura and myself, and the rest of the team, what can we provide to not only the regional reps, but the school PIC reps as well? And so we'd love to get that information, because that'll inform what we're going to do the rest of this year and then leaning into next year as well. And then my final point here is we are planning a PIC, not orientation, PIC community building event on the 10th of March, where we can talk about this information, talk about the homework you've provided us, the input, the information. And we will, at that point, or sorry, at that meeting, we will go through the definitions or roles and responsibilities and how we all work together. And we'll answer any questions, of course, and we'll go through the homework and see what recommendations we come up with for the terms of reference. And hopefully at that meeting, I think, Laura, the second plan, or the second focus of that meeting we discussed, was to actually establish, at least start to establish, the PIC planning, the PIC conference planning committee.
Yeah, I think we'll at least do that by our next regional meeting as well, depending on whether we have to do elections for the co-chair part.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce Superintendent Connor for her update, please.
Perfect, thanks so much. So very pleased to provide some updates to the group this evening. I have a few brief updates. I did want to say I hope everyone's staying warm. It's a busy time in schools. Of course, our secondary students just finished exams and they launched into a new semester. So lots of fun things happening, and just a wonderful time in schools, both in elementary and secondary. I wanted to share a couple of things that have been shared at the board level and in some of our super council groups as well, and amongst schools. One of the pieces that I wanted to highlight for the group today, that is in January, both Superintendent Nick Frankovich and myself provided a presentation to the board regarding the HDSB's EQAO results. And I was just hopeful to share a few of the highlights of the report with the group this evening. Very proudly, I will share that in grade 3 reading and writing, our students scored above the provincial average by 6%. And in grade 3 math, the HDSB scored 7% higher than the provincial average. Our grade 6 students also achieved results in reading and writing that were 6% above the provincial average, with 92% of our students achieving level 3 and 4 in reading, and 91% achieving level 3 and 4 in writing. For math, we scored 11% higher than the provincial average for grade 6. Our grade 9 math results were 16% higher than the provincial average, with 74% of our grade 9 students achieving level 3 or 4. And in grade 10, the percentage of HDSB students who were successful on the OSSLT exceeded the provincial average by 6%, with a success rate of 91%. The 2024-25 school year saw grade 3, grade 6, 9, and 10 students in the Halton District School Board continue to score well above the provincial results in reading, writing, and math. And in each of these assessments, the Halton District School Board exceeded the provincial results between 6 and 16%, demonstrating the exemplary results of the school board. I also wanted to share that we have asked our elementary and secondary principals in each of our schools to ensure that they are providing to school councils the opportunity to discuss and review both the school's EQAO results as well as the school's school improvement plans, so that parents, guardians, and caregivers are able to have a rich understanding of this work within their school community, are included in the collective efforts to improve student learning, experience, and achievement. Also, just a very quick note for some of our very small elementary schools, EQAO results really provide one aspect, like in all school communities, in terms of what student achievement looks like. But you'll sometimes see in some of our smaller schools with very small cohorts. So I know Sherry and I spend lots of time up in Halton Hills. Sometimes a class of 22 or 23, when you see perhaps changes in EQAO results, It can be a little bit more volatile with smaller cohorts and a little bit more stable, I would say, year by year when you have some larger cohorts as well. But those are all the conversations you want to be talking through and understanding and being able to explore with your principals as you talk and understand again what the experiences are for students that are in the school and what the areas of focus are to continue to improve within your school communities as well. I also wanted to share that all schools who submitted an application to access pro-grant funding to, of course, support the wonderful parent engagement within their own school communities would have had these funds confirmed about 2 weeks ago through the school principal. All applications, I will share, were approved, and we're very hopeful this will provide a wonderful opportunity to increase the connection of families to their child's school community. Last thing to highlight is very recently there was a communication that was shared with school council chairs and PIC reps, inviting families, staff, and community members to Brilliant Black Futures, a celebration in honor of Black History Month, which is taking place on Thursday, February 26th at 4:30 at Rattlesnake Point Public School in Milton. It will be a wonderful evening celebrating Black excellence throughout and during Black History Month. The event will feature a screening of episodes from Black Life Untold Stories. Attendees will have the opportunities to explore community vendor and resource tables that support Black students and families, attend engaging sessions featuring student exhibitions of learning focused on Black history in Canada, and learn more about the HDSB graduation coach programs and Black student unions and wellness supports for our students within the board. There will be additional communication that will be coming out. So if you haven't registered or if it's not on your radar yet, you will see more of that information coming out from our communications department. Again, wonderful evening. That's on February 26th, and certainly all of our families are very welcome. And that's it for me this evening.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. And next up is Trustee Rocha with your update. Thank you, please.
Thank you. So a little bit about me. So my name is Tanya Rocha, and I am one of 11 trustees at the HCSB. I personally represent Oakville East, which is wards 3 and 6. And just a little history on me. I've been involved with PIC on so many levels over almost 2 decades. One as a parent attending PIC, then being the PIC rep at my local school. And then once I became a trustee, I was originally on this committee, and then I left for a while, and now I'm back. So PIC is very near and dear to my heart because there's so much good stuff that this committee puts out. And I love that parents care so much and they want to engage with their school board, and that's the sign of success for your child. So kudos to all of you for taking time out of your day to being on this committee. As you can tell, since the last PIC meeting in November, Trustee Zhang is no longer on this committee, but I am. And that's because we also have to, we rotate out of different committees. So, so since November, what's happened with trustees? So I did write some notes. So trustees have embarked on their last year of their 4-year term, which means that come November 14th, that is the last day of our term. And if the Ministry of Education does not do away with trustees, there will be elections on October 26th. So those are the municipal elections. So come November 15th, there might be 11 new trustees, or there might be some familiar faces returning. My message to you is, if you do want to be a trustee, if you're interested in running for trustee, feel free to reach out to me or to your local trustee. They'd be more than happy to tell you a little bit about the role. And who knows, maybe you'll be the trustee on this committee next year. What else? So in December, so this is why I'm here and not Trustee Zhang. So every December, the trustees have what we call a striking committee. And we decide amongst ourselves who will be on which committee. So for this upcoming year, it will be me. And in case I can't attend, Trustee Audrey Wubenhorst, she's the alternate, so she might be here if ever I cannot attend. A little update on what trustees do. So just recently in January, 9 of 11 trustees attended a public education symposium. It's a conference put together by the Ontario Public School Boards Association. It's a 2-day conference. What it does is it allows us as trustees to network with all other elected trustees in the province of Ontario, but it's also a great opportunity for professional development. Our roles are constantly changing, and we do need to be kept apprised of legislation, laws, everything and anything we need to do, in order to do our jobs well. For those of you interested, I did hear someone say they sort of watch board meetings. You are always welcome to attend a board meeting in person. So if that's you, you might want to attend our next board meeting, which is Tuesday, March the 3rd. So I do have one question and one suggestion. So I'm going to start with a suggestion. I know that earlier you were talking about the terms of reference and if we had any ideas. I was looking at the meeting minutes and I noticed that there's only 3 representatives from each of the 4 regions. Maybe because I did hear Sherry say that there's a lot of interest in being part of this committee. Maybe up the number of representatives from 3 to 4 or even 5. I mean, that would also help with organizing the PIC conference and all the great work that the committee does. So that's a suggestion for me. And then I do have a question because funny enough, Superintendent Connor provided all these great updates and I had little notes to talk about. So she did a much better job than I ever would of giving you those updates. So I guess my question to this group is, because it is my first time back, what are the types of updates that you would like to hear from the trustee? Maybe you can tell me now, or if you're not comfortable telling me now, you can always reach out to me and I'll take that into consideration for our next PIC meeting. And that's it for me. So thank you for welcoming me back after a long hiatus, and I'm glad to be back. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Rocha. Let's open it up for 1 to 2 minutes to see if there are any suggestions or asks from the group as far as what sort of updates we'd like from our trustee. And if we can also add this to our homework, because we'd love to hear what the school reps who are listening in, what they may want to ask for as well. So do we have any initial thoughts on different types of information that can be provided as part of the trustee update? Go ahead, Laura.
Yes, I'll just jump in, and this kind of matches with something that I had thought about when it comes to what we can do for our school board committee or school council committees, is really sharing those opportunities of what we're wanting our PIC reps at the school councils to bring back to their council meetings. So for example, I know the budget has been really big this year. We've heard lots of discussion about, the challenges that you're facing with the budget and with trying to, balance that budget and deciding where to make the cuts. And I know that's something that we've brought back to our councils, but if there's any sort of other things like that are either coming up that we should keep our eyes open for, or that have happened at a board meeting that maybe we don't know about, that we could, bring back to our school councils to get input to share back with you, or if there's advocacy opportunities that we can be taking on, that would be great too. I know part of the role of the trustee and all of those things being up for discussion, that's something school councils have been talking about as well in terms of their sort of advocacy role piece. So any of those sorts of things would be really helpful from my perspective.
Does anyone else have any?
I can actually provide you some updates right now on the fly.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I know with budget, the one reason I didn't bring up budget today is I know because there's been so much communication that people are like, oh my God, stop asking me. So I purposely didn't bring up budget today because there's been so much consultation already. So yes, definitely something like that I will bring forward at meetings when there's an opportunity. As far as other updates, we are currently doing some boundary reviews. I know that school council, do we call them school council reps? Can't remember what we call them now, but school council reps will probably be, there will be communication out to impacted schools to let them know about upcoming boundary reviews. So for example, in Oakville, we are trying to determine boundaries for the new high school that we affectionately call Northeast Number 1 High School. Until we give it a name. So that school is scheduled to open in September of 2027. And so meetings have begun. Consultations are almost underway. No, actually they have started. We had a meeting on Monday. So consultations have started to determine what the boundaries are, both for the English stream and the French immersion students that live north of Dundas. So you can look up information on our website and even chat with your school council rep for additional information. And I believe there's also a boundary review happening for Burlington for one of the elementary schools. And I see Superintendent Connor nodding. So yes, that I am accurate. I know less information there only because I'm not on that committee. And then for advocacy, we do have, so part of the committees that we do have a financial advocacy committee. They are currently working on something. And once that's done, I'm sure they'll probably come here to share the information, or we'll give you the information about how we as a board, as parents, can advocate for better financing, better supports for our students, because as you know, we're always tied for either last or second last on how we're funded per students across the province. Either our board or our coterminous board, the Halton Catholic, we're always dead last for lowest funding per student. So there's a great committee of trustees who are working on some plans for financial advocacy for us. So expect more information from me in I guess at our next meeting, which I'm not sure when that is, but I'm sure Ali will tell us by the time I'm done talking. And I think that's it for now, but thank you so much for those suggestions, Laura.
So to answer your question, Trustee Rocha, the next meeting will be after the community building event on 10 March. The next live streamed meeting is 9 April in the year 2026. I just had a suggestion. I know that before our meetings, and Carrie, maybe you can help me with this. Do we gather questions from the group before our meetings? And if we do, can we, you know, if there's any trustee questions that you'd like responded to or answered, we can, Trustee Rocha, we can grab those questions for you and give them to you before the meeting so you can provide an update specifically to those questions, if they're appropriate. Would that be something that would help? Okay, perfect. And when we do our community building event on 10 March, we will ask the group as well for what they're looking for in a trustee update at these PIC meetings. And we'll pass that on to you as well. So with that, folks, so again, 10 March community building event for the PIC family. So that would be PIC committee, PIC co-chairs, and the very important PIC school reps. Then our next two live stream meetings are scheduled for 9 April and 21 May. Again, those details will come out as we get closer to those dates. And just a reminder, right, because we're all very excited about this, that right now our PIC conference for next year is scheduled for October 2026. Once the PIC conference planning committee gets established, then we can discuss dates. Location for now is LC McGill Secondary School in Milton. Next slide, please.
I think that's it. I don't know if this one's me, Ali, so I'll jump in. So just wanted to say thank you all for attending today's meeting and for being here tonight. Really glad to see everyone, and I hope everyone who joined the live stream got something out of this too. As Ali mentioned, when we sent out the agenda and link, it included a link at the bottom to fill out a form if you had any questions. So we will do that again next time, but you can always reach out to us in between meetings as well. And if you're a PIC school council rep, watch out for that communication from your PIC regional rep that'll be coming in the next little while. So thanks everyone, and have a great rest.